Have you ever felt like you are trying to step forward, but like an invisible string is holding you back? Not because of health, not because of circumstances, but because of the very things you are silently carrying in your mind each day. After age 70, many people still believe that everything gets worse because of old age. But the truth might surprise you. It is a few old thoughts, habits, and perspectives, so familiar you no longer notice them, that are silently preventing you from living more fully. The reason many people after 70 feel stuck, tired, or trapped does not necessarily come from the outside. It comes from very small things, but they repeat every day. Dwelling on old regrets, refusing to try new things, putting yourself down for your age, or closing yourself off thinking no one understands you anymore. We have all heard old age is for resting, but resting does not mean stopping living. No age is too late to feel lighter, more connected, and to live with a more open heart each day. The problem is, no one points out the silent things that are holding you back. They are not loud. They are not obvious. But if you pay close attention, you will realize there are things you need to let go of, not because of weakness, but because you deserve to live the rest of your life with more ease and meaning. In this video, we will walk through 7 things that are secretly holding you back, and more importantly, how to gradually let go of each one. Each step of letting go is a step you allow yourself to take into the light, naturally without force, and by being kind to yourself. If you have ever felt that you still want to live more, but do not know where to start, then this video could be the gentlest starting point. Please stick with me to the end, because the last thing is the very thing that many people hold in their hearts their whole lives, without ever knowing they could let go. And you can, starting today. The first thing, clinging to the past. Perhaps you have heard someone say, the good old days were the best. And perhaps you yourself have whispered that phrase in your heart many times, recalling the days when the children were small, the full family meals, the distant trips with loved ones, the festive seasons in the small town bustling with laughter. Those memories, they are beautiful, precious, and so vivid in your mind. But what few people realize is, when we keep living in the good old days, we unintentionally turn our backs on today. Clinging to the past is not about loving the past. It is about letting the past hold you back. It is when you start comparing everything in the present to a standard that has long passed. It is when you feel you have nothing left to look forward to because the best time has passed. It is when you live today with your mind stuck in a place that no longer exists. Take Mrs. Linda in California, for example. After her husband passed away, she lost interest in meeting friends or participating in any activities. Every morning she would sit looking at the wedding photo on the shelf, and the whole day she would just think about the things they used to do together. She said, I don't desire anything anymore because the best part of my life has ended. But then one day her little granddaughter came and asked her, Grandma, why don't you tell me more fun stories from when you were little? That question was like a bell, startling her into realizing memories are for sharing and passing on, not for locking away to wither with sadness. After 70, life does not end. It just turns to a new chapter. And you cannot write that chapter if you keep rereading the old one. Letting go does not mean forgetting, but learning to smile at the past and gently move on. Try to think about something you have regretted, a person, a guy, a moment. Then ask yourself, what good things are waiting for me up ahead that I am missing just because I keep looking back? The truth is, when you bravely let go of the past, you do not lose anything. You are just opening a new door to live more fully. And remember, the best time of your life is not the time that has passed, but the time when you can still create something beautiful for yourself right now, today. The second thing, fearing change. There is a very real truth after age 70, which is the more you are used to stability, the more any change, no matter how small, can make you feel insecure. A new television remote, a different phone, a new neighbor moving in, or simply the familiar coffee shop, moving your favorite seat. These small changes for many people can cause a deep sense of unease. But what would happen if you started to believe that? It is change, not stability, that helps you live more deeply at this age. Jerry, a 73-year-old man in Oregon, used to refuse to learn to use a computer. He said, "I have lived my whole life without email. What's the point of learning now?" Then one day, wanting to see his first great-grandchild's face, he had to install Zoom. At first, he was clumsy, typed incorrectly, clicked wrong, but then he burst out laughing when he first saw the baby waving at him through the screen. "I never expected this tiny machine could make my heart feel so warm," he recounted. And from then on, he learned to send photos, write emails, and eventually even write a memoir for his family to read each week. Change, if you give it a chance, can become a wonderful bridge between you and things that seem distant. But what matters most of all is the feeling you get when you overcome your own fear, a feeling of relief, pride, and being reconnected with life. Fearing change is natural, but letting that fear control you, that is what is silently making you withdraw. You do not need to change everything. Just be brave enough to take one small step. Try a new dish, talk to a stranger, or simply take a different route home, because every time you dare to try something new, you are telling life, "I am still living, I still want to learn, and I still believe there are many things ahead worth discovering." That is not just living, that is living with meaning, and that is never too late. The third thing, negative self-talk. Have you noticed that sometimes your own words make everything around you feel heavier? Not because you mean to, but because often phrases like, "I'm old, what do I know anymore?" "Times are different now, I can't keep up," or "just let the kids do it," have become a habit, like a shadow cast over every conversation. After age 70, the way you talk about yourself, about others, about life, is precisely how you are redefining each of your days. And if those words are always colored with negativity, then your mind will also gradually shrink in that way. Mrs. Maria, 76, who lived alone in Little Havana, Florida, used to say, "I don't have anyone to talk to. Even if I did, no one would understand." But once a young neighbor moved in, often coming over to borrow salt or ask her to open a jar. At first, Mrs. Maria just grumbled, "Who cares about an old lady like me?" But then one day the young woman brought over a glass of orange juice, smiled and said, "I love hearing you tell stories about the old days." She was stunned, and for the first time in years, she said positive words about herself. "I used to be a nurse. I helped many people." That was when her voice became lighter. Her eyes brightened, as if she had just reconnected with her own worth, just by changing her words. Negative self-talk not only pushes others away, but also silently drains your own spirit. Because every phrase you repeat daily is also a phrase you hear yourself say. And those phrases can be medicine, or they can be poison. Try changing a familiar negative phrase with a warmer one. Instead of "I can't do anything anymore," try "I can still contribute in my own way." Instead of "I'm old, I'm a bother," say "I know how to listen and have many stories to tell." By adjusting these small things in your speech, you not only soothe your own soul, but also create a more pleasant space for anyone who enters your life, even for just a few minutes. Positive communication is a gift that needs no wrapping, no purchase, but has the most powerful ripple effect. And you can absolutely start giving it from today. The fourth thing, regretting past opportunities. There are things we carry our whole lives, not material things, but the if-onlys. If only I had dared to study what I loved. If only I had forgiven that person sooner. If only I had not missed that opportunity. After age 70, those if-onlys do not disappear, but sometimes they grow larger, clinging to the heart like a silent stone weighing down every remaining day. Regret is a very real emotion, but living constantly in regret is like staring at a closed door, while forgetting that there are still many other doors ajar around you. Thomas, a 75-year-old, had a passion for photography since he was young, but to provide for his family, he worked at a factory for 40 years. After retiring, he always spoke with a voice mixed with regret. "I could have been a photographer if I had been braver." For a long time, he did not pick up a camera again, until one day his granddaughter found his old camera and asked him to take a few pictures in the park. He reluctantly agreed, but when his family saw those photos, they were amazed by the natural beauty and emotion he captured. From then on, he started taking pictures again, not to make a living, but to live again. The images he posted online were loved by many. He said with a smile, "It turns out opportunities do not disappear. They just change their form. The things you missed may not come back exactly as they were, but if you stop looking behind with regretful eyes, you will start to see ahead with grateful eyes." Life still holds many new opportunities. Not identical, but enough to make you feel your heart can still be lit up. Try asking yourself, if I were not being held back by the past, what would I do today? Maybe write a few lines in a journal, send an old letter never written, or simply start a conversation left unfinished. Sometimes opportunity does not come from out there. It starts from the courage within your heart. Because after all, the biggest regret is not the opportunity that passed, but letting the present slip by just because you are too busy regretting what cannot be changed. Gently release the past, so your hands have room to embrace the good things that are coming. The fifth thing, a sedentary habit. There is a quiet truth that few want to face. The older we get, the more we sit, and the less we move. At first, it is just to rest a little. Then those rest-a-moment breaks gradually become hours in front of the television screen, in a familiar armchair with a remote control and a glass of water nearby. There is nothing wrong with enjoying relaxation. But when being sedentary becomes a constant habit, it not only takes away your health, but also slows down your spirit. Your body does not need to run fast, does not need to exert itself like in your youth, but it needs to be invited to move every day as a way to remind it that you are still alive and vital. Mrs. Helen, 79 in Arizona, used to say, "I only stand up when it's truly necessary. My legs are so weak." But her doctor did not just prescribe medicine. He suggested she walk around her house for 5 minutes, 3 times a day. She shook her head at first, but then she tried. A week later, she found it easier to sleep. 2 weeks later, she walked from her front door to the small post office down the street. By the second month, she began joining a gentle exercise class at the community center. And what surprised her the most was her mood improved, became lighter, even though the back pains were still there. "I am not walking fast, but I am walking toward the light," she said with a smile. Being sedentary not only weakens the body, but also can impair memory, affect sleep, digestion, and even mood. Each time you refuse to get up and walk a little, your body is gradually losing its ability to self-regulate and self-heal, things that are the foundation of a healthy old age. But you do not need a gym. No need for complex exercises. Just start with small things. Stretch after waking up. Walk down the hallway. Do a few knee bends while cooking. Or simply tap your hands on your thighs to the beat of a song you love. Your body does not ask for much. It just needs to be called upon each day. Because movement not only keeps you flexible, it also helps you feel you are still in charge of your life. And that feeling after age 70 is more precious than any supplement you have ever known. The sixth thing, unknowingly, self-consciousness about age. One of the things that hurts older people most deeply does not come from illness, but from the small whispers in their own minds. "I'm old now. Surely no one needs me anymore." The feeling of being less valuable, not urgent, but silently eroding your confidence bit by bit, making you more hesitant, quieter, and causing you to withdraw from the things you once loved. Self-consciousness about age does not start from far away. It starts from the times you were interrupted at a family party when someone said, "That's different now, not like in your day." It starts when you hold a new phone and feel you have become clumsy, and gradually you start to believe you are past your prime. But the truth is, age does not make you less valuable. It makes you more profound. Like a piece of classical music, not everyone understands it completely on the first listen, but whoever is patient enough to listen will find an entire world within it. Henry, 78, used to live quietly in a nursing home in San Jose. He was very good at fixing mechanical clocks, but nobody noticed. Until a young staff member discovered him silently repairing the old clock in the common room, something everyone thought was broken forever. From that day on, the young people at the home began bringing him small items to look at. He gradually became the person everyone sought out. Not because he was faster, but because he was patient, meticulous, things that only age can bestow. The older you get, the more you have to give back. Life experience, composure, tolerance. But if you do not believe in yourself, it is hard for others to see those precious things. Try changing the way you talk about yourself. Do not say, "I'm old, how can I remember?" Say, "I have lived long enough to know what is worth remembering." Because when you are confident about your age, others will start to see you with different eyes, not with pity, but with respect. Because confidence does not come from being able to do what young people do. Confidence comes from understanding that your age itself is a gift, and you do not need anyone's permission to honor it. The seventh thing, limited social connection. There is something hard to say, but everyone feels it after age 70. The social circle begins to shrink. Old friends become fewer. Children are busy with their own lives. New neighbors are not as close as they used to be. Gradually, you get used to the silence, to the point of considering it normal. But that does not mean your soul no longer longs to be connected. Loneliness is not just when there is no one beside you. Loneliness is when you have something to share, but do not know who to tell. It is when you hear good news, then keep it in your heart. It is when a day passes and no one asks you, "How was your day today?" Frank 81 once said, "I have lived alone for over 10 years, not sad, but not happy either." One day his grandson set up a social media account for him just so he could see family photos. At first he was not very interested, but then one time he left a comment under a photo. "I used to go fishing at that spot." And to his surprise, the whole family jumped in to ask more. From then on, he began telling his life story through each photo, each short line. The miracle was not the technology, but the feeling of seeing he was still a part of his family's rhythm of life. You do not need a large group of friends. You just need a few real connections, where you are heard, cared for, and can also give something back. It could be an old friend you have not called in a long time, a neighbor you have greeted but never spoken to, or a community group near where you live. And if no one actively reaches out to you, you can absolutely be the one to start. A greeting, a question, a card sent. Do not think that old age is a time to close off. Sometimes it is precisely the time you open up the deepest connections because you have enough time, enough maturity, enough empathy to listen and share. Because humans were never born to live alone in silence. You deserve to belong, to be remembered, and to live in connection, no matter what your age. And that journey can begin with a phone call today. Now, as you have gone through all 7 things that can silently hold you back after age 70, from clinging to the past, fearing change, to self-consciousness, being sedentary or narrowing social ties, take a few seconds to ask yourself, what am I holding on to that I could have let go of? Perhaps you realize you are still telling an old story too many times. Or every time your kids suggest learning something new, you just smile and shake your head. Maybe you still tell yourself, it's too late now. But honestly, it is never too late to feel a little lighter, live a little more comfortably, and open your heart a little more to the world around you. You do not need to change everything at once. Just start with one single thing you feel it is time to release. Maybe it is calling an old friend, taking a longer walk than usual, or simply replacing a negative thought with a gentler one for yourself. Each of those small steps is how you reopen the door to connect with life, and most importantly, to reconnect with your own true value. Because you were never past your prime, you just need to be reminded that the time left is still long enough to live fully. If this has sparked something in you, do not let that feeling fade. Try taking one small step today. And if you have ever let go of something that made you feel lighter, I would love for you to share your experience in the comments. Your story might just be the light someone else needs to find their way. Thank you for sticking with me to the end. I hope this video serves as a small gift, a reminder to live with an open heart and your eyes on the road ahead. I will see you in the next video, where we will continue this journey of living with more ease, truth, and depth.